Awaken, come and join our love, it's so right. If you could feel what we feel now.
Thank you for listening to the Awakened Radio Network at awakenedradio.net, where we invite you to join us for the Prosperity Game. You can win prizes. You can also discover the easy, quick, surefire ways to allow prosperity into your life experience. The Prosperity Games are ongoing on the Awakened Radio Network. Check out our front page, awakenedradio.net, for details on the Prosperity Game. You can win prizes by calling in, by being in our chat room. You can even win by leaving comments in our forum. We've got all manner of ways for you to join us to play the Prosperity Game, where we all win and live beautiful, wonderful, on-purpose lives. Join us for the Prosperity Games at awakenedradio.net.
Welcome to Simply Conversations. This show airs every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific. Each week we'll have a new conversation exploring the life of a person who began to listen to his or her heart. Join us as we open the door for these uplifting and courageous people. Whether they are young, old, or somewhere in between, their work has helped to transform their lives, and it ultimately helps to support, heal, and grow their communities. Listen to our discussion and be inspired as you hear about life-changing and transforming stories. Be part of our conversation. Feel free to take part in our chat room or on the phone. Ask questions and chat with our guests. This show is brought to you by simplyconversations.com. Hello everyone, welcome to Simply Conversations. I'm Rob Ragozzine. Thanks for joining us. It's September 15th, 2013. This show is all about how our guests finally began utilizing the guidance from their hearts, and we'll see how they finally found the wisdom within their hearts to begin making changes. What has your own heart been asking for? You might begin to see this within our conversations. Please join us in the chat room at awakenedradio.net and click on the live chat tab, or join us by going to Skype and adding Awaken Radio to Skype, or call 334-649-7204. This week it's Karen Kubicko, and come gather with us in our conversation as we open the door for Karen. She's involved with healing and life awareness through past life regression. She says, when you remember a difficult past life, you can experience catharsis. Catharsis is a fancy word for the process of releasing and thereby providing relief from repressed emotions. This is how you heal. The healing is so deep, I believe it is done at soul level. If you're inspired by tonight's talk, you can contact me at Facebook or Twitter and participate on a call of your own. We'd love to hear about how you've healed and changed your community. And in the second half hour tonight, you can add your own comments, questions, and suggestions to Karen. But now, let's talk with Karen. Hello, Karen.
Hello, Rob. How are you? Thanks for letting me join you in the show this evening.
How are you tonight? And have you had any thoughts on what you'd like to first talk about?
Well, I guess I could give an overview on what past life regression is exactly. Is that helpful to our listeners?
Yes.
Okay. Well, truly, it's the process of remembering being here before. So you could do that in many different ways. You could have a dream and not know exactly why you have such a vivid dream, and it would be about something from another time period. You could remember a past life through meditation, or you could do a self-hypnosis like tape, which is sort of like a meditation. It just helps you relax, give you a little focused concentration, and then help you remember something if that's what your intent is. Another way of doing that is to have someone facilitate it. You could have a regression therapist help you remember that. It's also through like a focused meditation, hypnosis. There's a variety of ways, but generally the point is that it takes you back into time so much that you can then remember a past life. It really is what you're ready for. It's you set the intent when you start on this journey to explore your own self. So that's basically what it is exactly in a nutshell. Does that help, Rob?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, before we get too deep, let's talk about the different ways in which we can connect into our own past lives without necessarily going to a past life regression person. So we can do it through meditation or our dreams or self-hypnosis.
Correct.
So
some people actually have it happen spontaneously, like it's sort of a deja vu where you walk into a town or city or you meet a person and just information comes to you intuitively. So that's another way as well.
So do you find that these, well, I guess intuitively, if it's coming to you that way, it's automatic in a way.
Yeah.
But if we want to facilitate our own past life regression, then we can do it through our own meditation or connecting through dreams or self-hypnosis.
Correct.
Now you state, I believe our ultimate goal is to give and receive love unconditionally. So do you believe and feel that past life regression can help us connect with this?
Well, I think that is one of the main lessons that I have been shown or seen. It's that, it's not about the material things, Rob. It's about loving another person as you see them and no judging. Do you know what I mean? And so if you can learn that through many ways and through different lifetimes. So you could learn it through faith, faith in practicing some type of religion or something like that to show love to another person unconditionally. Or you could have an experience with your family or a child in this life or any lifetime where you are having to show love repetitively to them and you're receiving it also. There's many ways to see that, but it's unconditional. That's, I think, ultimately the goal. I mean, it's been repetitively shown to me in that way, but not only in relationships and experiences in this lifetime and in other lifetimes, but also in the love that is shown to us by our spirit guides and angels and past several loved ones that while you can't visit, some people can, but you can't visually see them right here next to you, but they're always here supporting us, giving their love to us every day, all the time. And so I think that is a very strong message that I continuously receive through this work.
So how did you first get involved with past life regression?
My inspiration came from Carol Bowman's book, Children's Past Lives. She wrote this book quite some time ago, and I was inspired to try to find information on just general metaphysical things, and when I found this book, I could not put it down. I was interested, first of all, because I have children of my own, but also because in her preface, she mentioned that she was able to be healed of a breathing issue just by remembering a few past lives. And so through that, I started trying to find more information out and learning more about it. I read as much as I could, went to some classes. I just couldn't get enough of it. So that was how I got started. And that's been not even 10 years ago.
But is this something you feel called to do?
I really do. I really do. I mean, it's just fascinating. There's so much to learn about yourself, really. What really makes you tick, why you have silly little, well, it's not silly, but you have fears about certain things. I mean, some people have some very overwhelming fears in this lifetime. Maybe they're claustrophobic, or they're afraid of heights, or they, like for me, I was afraid of spiders and mice and things like that. But then I figured out why I was afraid of those, and now they don't really bother me anymore. So it's just, you can just recognize that right away, why those things happened, and that you make the connection. But also because, why do you love a certain time period in this lifetime? Why do you love a certain type of furnishings for your house? Why do you like a certain geographic location? Sometimes those things come up in a past life. I know for me, I really loved the 1920s, and I've really loved Paris. I had two really cool lifetimes, one in Paris and one in the 1920s. And I loved their hairstyle, I loved their clothing for as long as I can remember, and never understood why. And so now I know, and it makes complete sense to me. So it's like what makes you tick, right?
But it's not anything to be afraid of.
No, not at all.
So can you walk us through one of your past life remembrances where you discovered why you were afraid of something, for instance?
Okay. Which one to pick? I would say, let's see. Well, I talk about this particular lifetime on a YouTube video that I did a couple years ago. And this little girl, she lived in Eastern Europe. Her name was Jezebel. It was during Hitler's time. And the year that I received for her, it's usually the year that I remember when I'm doing a regression, it's the year that they die. And so it was 1943. And Jezebel was this little girl. I could see right away that she was of meager means, like she was kind of poor. She didn't have a very nice dress on, was a little ratty. She had a younger brother and sister sitting with her. And when you remember a past life, sometimes you just remember that last day of your life, and not, everything else that goes with it. You kind of get some information, but not always. For me, I mostly remember just that last day. And usually it's because, and this is just a side note, Rob, but usually it's because that's the part that you have brought forward in this lifetime that's affecting you in some way. And so in this lifetime for me, I actually, on purpose, chose not to have an apartment or a house with a gas stove. I never really was like, I'm openly afraid of them, I don't really want that. But I just always thought, I cook better with an electric stovetop, And so I just never chose to have a gas stove in my house. And I was pretty happy when the house I have now had an electric stove. When I looked in the kitchen through the door when we were looking at houses and I saw that electric stovetop, I said, this is my house, because it didn't have the gas stove. So back to Jezebel. She's sitting on the floor, and this is what I see whenever I'm remembering this. And I recognize that there's something going on that's not really not good. I know that my grandmother's taking care of us. I know that she was just cooking on the stove, and she's looking out the window, and I get up and try to look out the window too. And what I notice is that there's military outside. There's bombs going off. It's kind of scary. You're 5 years old. It's kind of scary to re-see again, even as myself as an adult. And what happens is that, they blow up the city, and it causes the gas stove to ignite as well. And so we perish in the fire. And it sounds really graphic, I guess, to an extent, but the point that was shown to me was that we are still always loved by our spirit guides and angels, because once we floated up as spirits, the entire sky was filled with angels. I don't even know how else to describe that, except that it was just covered with them. And they were there to be with us. They were there to help us transition to heaven. they were there to comfort us. I have the image of this beautiful angel with his wings around some little children that were near to where I was at. I was right there with my family the whole time, and it was just so much love. I don't know how else to explain that. It was just like love was pouring down on us from them. Even though it was a horrific thing that happened, it was overwhelmingly loving once we met with them as we turned into spirit.
And this connects with love?
Yeah. Well, not the war part of it, but the feeling that you get on how they're helping you through the situation, that you're not alone, that kind of love.
And you remember this every day, because now you've seen this, you've had this experience.
Right.
So that's important.
You know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
It's been shown to me repetitively so many times, and it's sometimes when you're having a bad day, you forget, but still you get a little glimpse of this or that. And I know you're into numbers, Rob. Like for me, I see the number 444. I have to see it at least 3 times a day, randomly. I've even walked through the airport just the other day, and someone was saying, "Order up 444." I'm like, what's the chances? But that number means that angels are surrounding you and loving you. So it's just like always reminding me. It makes me smile every time, because
just to take a breath and relax.
Right.
You know that you're not in the airport all by yourself.
Right. And so if everyone heard that same number and remembered that same thing, wouldn't that be nice? But for me, it's special because I see it so often, and I know that angels surround you and protect you. So it's cool. It's very cool. It's loving. So if I forget, they remind me, I guess I should say.
Now, what advice might you give someone who's just curious, just starting out, and they have their own healing journey to begin? And how might you recommend that they start with past life regression?
Well, it's you have to want to do it. I'm just going to throw that out there, because it's certainly not something you can just jump right into and it's going to happen immediately. There are people who can do that. I've regressed people who have never given it a try, and they have remembered a couple past lives. But there are other people, like for me, example, I listen to a self-hypnosis tape at least a month, every day, sometimes twice in one day, and finally I got a little snippet of a lifetime, and I knew that it was a past life because it was, first of all, I was a guy, and I've got furs on me trying to keep warm and everything. It was so vivid. It was unreal. And so after that day, then it got easier and easier, and then I went to a past life regression therapist, and that was really the easiest way that I had remembered things. But I had gotten ready for it. I knew what kind of how to relax by then. If you've never meditated before, it's no easy task to learn how to do that in one day. So to relax. We live in a society, Rob, where we're like rush, always trying to get to the next thing or trying to do 20 things at once. It's hard to take that time to just let yourself just really physically relax. And so it's a learned thing, and I think you need to go and try to know how to do that, to really relax enough to allow yourself to have that focused concentration, to let yourself go back and remember any memory you'd like to remember, whether it's in this lifetime or in a previous life.
Now, do you find that you have slowed down in your own life as you've done this?
Absolutely. I know that I like to do lots of things and be busy all the time, and it's funny that you say that, because I saw the similarity of how I do things in this lifetime as I had done in a previous lifetime, and it made me recognize it and be like, okay, wait a minute, I really need to take a step back here and to not do quite so many things. Even though I'm capable of doing this, that, and 12 other things, I don't need to do all that. I could just focus on one thing and do it really well, and then not be stressed and have fun with it. So yeah, I learned from that. I apply it to this lifetime, which is the point. I mean, it's interesting to remember the past life, but the point of it is to learn from what you have done and to apply it in this lifetime. You're always learning, Rob.
Mm-hmm. Now, if someone has an intent to bring healing into their life, can they look at it from one specific issue? Like perhaps healing grief? So can they go into a past life and say, I'd like to find one where I effectively, or maybe not effectively, handled grief?
That's a good question, Rob. I'll give you an example, I guess. I don't know how else to answer that question. Grief is when you have lost someone and you are so upset that they are gone and you'll never see them again, right? And so the way that this, well, how can I answer this best? I mean, I have lots of examples. The way that I could explain this would be that we travel in soul groups, first of all. And so many of the people that are in my lifetime now, I have seen in my past lifetimes. Like, for example, my own children, they've been my kids before. In fact, I have seen where they've actually been my parents. And my daughter has been my mother in another lifetime. And so I know that I'll see them again. Also, if you're able to go to the in-between life stage, you're able to see all those people that have passed over. Once you go, you've passed on, you've seen yourself die, you see the light, you walk in, there's a greeting room, and in that room there are your spirit guides, and many that have been in that past life with you have gone before you there to greet you, and oftentimes those that you are missing will be there. So it's that you know right away that they are there for you. I have another thing, Rob. We talked the other day, but I didn't talk with you about this. When we think of our loved ones, they know that. They know that. They feel it in their heart. It's like an alert. I don't know how else to explain that, but that's how it was shown to me. And how it was shown to me is in having conversations with my spirit guides. I had left a lifetime one time a little too soon, it seemed as though, and I had left a child behind, and I was very upset about it. As I'm walking the light, I'm seeing them worrying, and so about being alone, and so I wanted to come back and see them right away. And through that experience, they showed me there is a place in heaven that is like this, it's like a meditation room. And so you go there and as a spirit on the other side in heaven, you go there, and if someone is thinking about you here on earth, they are alerted. And so my spirit guides tell me that all you have to do is go to this room. As soon as you feel that they're thinking about you, you go immediately to this room, and they have, like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like these real comfortable, relaxing, they're like chairs. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's for my benefit to understand how it works, but you sit there and you're in an immediate relaxed state, and you go into like a kind of meditation where they can come back here and watch over us. So, like, if, say, for example, I think of my grandmother, and she's passed over, and she's alerted that I'm thinking of her. So if I was psychic enough and I could see ghosts on a regular basis, she might be standing next to me. Or maybe you'll see a feather, or you would hear a bird chirp or sit there, or a butterfly. They try to give us signs to let us know that they're around. And or maybe a song plays. Some people have heard phone rings. You know, how does that happen? It's because they've been alerted that you're thinking about them, and they want you to know that they also are sending their love to you and thinking of you. So that's another way that from my perspective that I've seen that can help with those who are grieving. Does that help you, Rob, with that question?
Yes, Karen.
I went a little above and beyond the whole past life stuff, but that's in between lives, that area.
We had talked about healing scars and body birthmarks.
Birthmarks.
When you had undergone some past life regressions. Can you talk briefly about that?
Sure, absolutely. I had remembered a past life when I had died in 1927. I was a female, and her name was Helen. She had attended a dance club, but at the time it was Prohibition, and a lot of those, like speakeasy, dance club bars, those were not legal. They were under the table, not under the table, but hidden types of places, and normally run by the mob. And so I had gone to a place, it was on the Hudson River. I got a lot of details about how this whole thing looked. It was on a boat, and all the windows are darkened out and blackened and covered up so no one could see in. But what happened is that we were invading another mob group. I don't even know how they work, turf, if you will. And a group of people men had come and used these large guns and shot a lot of people. It caused the whole boat to catch on fire, and then it sank. I was shot in the neck, and in this lifetime, I can't really say that I have, a birthmark that looked like a round bullet hole right in the front of my neck. It's been a prominent birthmark my whole life, and it was dark brown, and I remember this lifetime, it's only been a couple years, and I noticed, and this was during the summer months, I noticed it was like almost hardly there one day. I'm like, oh my God, it's like gone, what the heck? And so I thought about it and tried to look up some information on it. Ian Stevenson had done a great deal of scientifically based research on birthmarks and how they are related to how you passed away in a previous lifetime, and he's documented it, books and books of it. So if someone was interested to look that up, then they could look up Ian Stevenson. But for me, I think it's because we are energetic beings, and when you have something harsh happen to you, whether it's how you died in a past life or something that was otherwise uncomfortable or harsh done to you during a past life, you harbor those ill feelings or a hatred even towards something or someone, and you put them in your body somehow, or how you have gotten hurt. So, for example, I was shot in the neck, and so that turned into like a dark spot on my energy, and it came out physically as a birthmark. And so when I remembered that, I offered forgiveness, which I think is a really important part of healing, for any modality that you choose. And then I released it and filled it with unconditional love. Back to the love thing, Rob, it's really important. And so it then released. And so in doing so, if I look in the mirror, I have to really look to see where there's just barely there, a brown spot now. So I wonder if it'll actually go away completely or how that will work. I'm not sure. But it was months after I remembered that where it faded dramatically. So will that happen for every person that has a past remembrance? I don't know for sure. But we have,
sorry to interrupt here.
No,
got 30 seconds until break. So we'll talk more about this when we get back.
All right, Rob. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Donna Devane, station owner here at Awakened Radio Network, and I wanted to take a few moments to answer some questions that I've received from listeners. One is, how can I support the Awakened Radio Network? Well, one of the easiest ways for you to do that is to visit our website at awakenedradio.net and check out our online store. We have stones and crystals, jewelry, medicine bags, dream catchers, coaching sessions with a few of our hosts in there, autographed copies of both of my books, lots of things that can help you on your journey and celebration of your life. Also, we do have donate buttons throughout the website. When you make a donation to the Awakened Radio station, you are saying, kudos, I love you, thank you for what you're doing, keep doing it. And you help us to stay on the air and to expand our operation. A lot of times we're asked, well, you know, how much do I donate? That is entirely up to you. Listen to your heart. You know, I've told people over the years, I don't want your power money. I don't want your grocery money. Share from your heart. The Awakened Radio Network is built upon the foundation of co-creating, all of us working together. We don't take grant money. We don't have corporate money. We are self-supported by our hosts, by some of our sponsors, our small businesses who sponsor us, and by ourselves and listeners like you. There's no amount too small or too large for that matter. If you love what we're doing and you'd like to see us expand, then shop in our store, make a donation, or perhaps you'd like to host your own show. All that information is on our website at awakenedradio.net. If you'd like to contact me for questions, do so. Send me an email at awakenedradio@gmail.com, or you can add Awakened Radio to your Skype contact. Don't just call, because you may call in the middle of the show. Send me a text message there, and I'll get right back with you to have a conversation and answer your questions. Know this, Awakened Radio is about you. We are here because we care. We stand by and we live the messages that we present to you here on the airwaves. We are about information, inspiration, and motivation for those who are changing their lives. Peace.
Welcome to Simply Conversations. This show airs every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, and 6 Pacific. Each week we'll have a new conversation exploring the life of a person who began to listen to his or her heart. Join us as we open the door for these uplifting and courageous people. Whether they are young, old, or somewhere in between, their work has helped to transform their lives, and it ultimately helps to support, heal, and grow their communities. Listen to our discussion and be inspired as you hear about life-changing and transforming stories. Be part of our conversation. Feel free to take part in our chat room or on the phone. Ask questions and chat with our guests. This show is brought to you by simplyconversations.com. And we're back. And if you have a question for Karen tonight, you can type it in the chat room, or you can add Awakened Radio to Skype, or you can call 334-649-7204 to ask your past life regression questions for Karen Kubicko. And Karen was talking about healing from a birthmark, or healing a birthmark via past life regression, as we paused for a station break earlier. So we can continue there.
Well, Robin, I'm not sure, too, if every past life that you remember that maybe is in direct relationship to a birthmark, if it'll go away. I've actually never read that would happen, but to me it makes complete sense on how it occurred with healing and the releasing of the whole tragedy that I put in that, or stored in that area of my being. So.
And we had talked about asthma too.
Yeah.
How you had overcome that.
Correct. Absolutely. I had, because of being inspired by Carol Bowman with her book, children's past lives, and she mentions about how she had some breathing issues and would be in bed for a month at a time. She would have it happen almost every winter, and she was so sick the one time she actually had this vivid dream come to her and recognized that it was a past life somehow. She had a friend of hers, perchance, come by not long after that occurred, talked with her about it, remembered that life and then another one, and she never got sick again with the breathing issue problems that she had. And I said, you know what, if she can do it, I can do it. And I had breathing issues and coughing in the middle of the night issues off and on sort of my whole life, a lot whenever I was a little kid, and then again right whenever I was around 26, 27, and I started taking a lot of medicine. I was taking 3 different kinds just to keep it under control. If I would like be behind a car that would spew out any kind of smoke or anything like that, I would have to take the rescue inhaler, the Buterol. If it was an ongoing, everyday concern of mine. It was just, and if I had a cold, for heaven's sakes, I mean, I would have to take a lot more other medicine. I had a nebulizer. It was just a mess. It's been over 1.5 years since I have taken anything at all. But my intent in starting all this work was I wanted to see what would come up for anything that had to do with related to my asthma. And so, as I mentioned to you before, Rob, that I decided to focus on the asthma thing. I had a lot of past lives come up, so many. I actually have 16 of them that I chose to write about in a book that I'm almost completely done writing. But every one of them had something to do with how I was breathing. The first one that I remembered, the gentleman had pneumonia, and so that was directly affecting my breathing. Then the next one, smoke inhalation. Then I drowned, and I was hung, and then I drowned again. I was shot. I mean, it just goes on with things that had to do with my breathing. But those are the kind of lifetimes that I was choosing. My intent was to choose those kinds of past lives so that I could directly heal any breathing issues that I have. And so, from my perspective, it worked. Now, I'll make the notation here. I worked with my doctor to decrease my medicine slowly over time. I didn't do it on my own. They were willing to work with me on that, and so that's what I would recommend. And it's worked for me. So, and I feel pretty confident I won't have to do that medicine again. But I really believe I've healed from this, so, because of remembering all these.
Now, we have a sort of a question from the chat room.
Sure. I'm not seeing the questions, but go ahead.
Well, Donna mentions that she gets phone calls, and it's an unlisted number, and they feel that it's from someone who's passed away. Have you ever heard of that happening? Maybe it's someone from a current life or past life reconnecting somehow. I guess you were talking earlier about messages like the feather or some other way. Well, I guess working with the phones might be a way to connect with us too. Correct.
Yeah. I mean, I have talked to people about, now this is totally unrelated to past lives, but I've talked to people where they've had their cell phones ring, and it was after a loved one had passed away, and they knew it was their number ringing. How else would that have happened? I mean, no one's using their phone, right? And I've read about a lot of different people that have had their phones ring, and they knew it was from this particular person or that particular person because they always called at this particular time, and it was just sort of like a message to them that they have called just to say hello. So it's entirely possible, absolutely.
I guess she mentions that the number wasn't in service, so that definitely adds to that.
Correct. Right. it's got to be no easy task for those on the other side to contact us in that way. And if they are determined, they can contact us in lots of ways. If you've listened at all to James Van Praagh, you'll have read his books. Just example after example after example. Our loved ones are right there for us. They're always thinking of us. They're aware, absolutely, when we think of them.
So I had talked to you about our ancestors, I guess, briefly, and maybe it might be a good idea to, like they do in the Eastern cultures, to have a small space in your home dedicated to them, even if it's just a picture, so that you can stay in contact with them.
Right.
Or even ourselves.
Right. Correct.
To send love back to ourselves.
Correct. It's nice.
And
they're always here for us.
And I had asked you about, what about preparing ourselves now for the future? How can we heal ourselves now so that when we come back in the future, we don't have to worry necessarily about past life regression, because we've lived in such a way that we were whole, we were healthy. I don't know if that's even possible.
Yeah. Well, I first off, we have free will. We have free will to come into this lifetime each and every time we choose. We choose what our whole life is going to be kind of like. You pick all that out. Sometimes you get clues here in this life where you have like some serious deja vu, like, boy, this is really familiar, I'm not exactly sure why. Or you meet somebody and you're like, wow, this person is so familiar, like I've known them forever. And it may very well have been that you've chosen that, okay? Now, to learn about or to prepare for in this life for the next lifetime, I absolutely think that you learn and grow upon each lifetime that helps the next one. An example that I give is, I know I had lived a couple lifetimes in a row where I was a female. Now, I was young, but I was not schooled. I didn't know a whole lot. I didn't really have an education. But I remember in the in-between life period, knowing that I consciously chose I did not want to be, and I used the word stupid again. So in each lifetime after that, and that was hundreds of years ago, I made a determined decision that I would be educated. And so in time periods where normally women are not educated, like I had lived in, I think it's sort of the Middle Ages. I'm not really sure about that. I'm not a big history buff. It's like 1700s, somewhere around there. I lived in France, and I remember making the comment during the regression, she was educated, and there were some men that were living in this time period that were not. And so that was interesting to me, because usually women are not educated. That's like a side note if you're educated or not, And so I apparently had made a point in that lifetime to make sure that I was educated. And again in the next lifetime, and even in the lifetime that I mentioned before in the 1920s, she had taken a few college classes, and that was not very common for women, especially, that was new back then in the 1920s for women to go to college to begin with. It's not very frequent. So I guess I made that decision spiritually to make sure that I was an educated person. So that went through different lifetimes. So that was an interesting thing. And too, when you learn your lesson, like for example, in one lifetime, the lesson that I was meant to learn was charity, and I didn't learn it. So the very next lifetime, I chose that same lesson again, and then I did get it that time. And so that, you keep learning until you understand it completely, to whatever lesson is put forth that you've chosen that lesson to do. It's, again, free will. Does that answer your question, Rob?
Yes, I think it does.
Good, okay.
So, Karen, we had talked about healthcare, and I'm wondering what changes you'd like to see as far as past life therapy might be. How can it become, I guess, a bigger part of our health system, or it might be just that people begin to choose it more?
That would be fun. That would be very cool. If you have, are you familiar with Brian Weiss, Dr. Brian Weiss?
Yes.
About him. In his first book that talks about his patient, Catherine, she was really had a lot of issues with sleeping. She couldn't swallow pills. She had a lot of phobias and fears and whatnot. And in a few sessions where and this is when Brian Weiss was first getting into all this and really didn't even know this is out there, available. He didn't believe in it at that point in his life. And she started remembering these past lives and then would come back in a few weeks and be better, like much better. And she overcame her fears and phobias that under normal health care, I guess I don't want to call it mainstream, but I guess what they normally have traditionally used as mental health care would have taken years and years, and maybe she would get through it. But it took months, and she overcame so many things. It was amazing to him. And that was his example. My only health example is the asthma thing. Besides that, I stopped being so much of a germaphobe, but that's another lifetime story. But I mean, it's just a lot of little things, really, for me. But I think that it would make a dramatic increase in that. I mean, I've stopped taking medicine, so I'm saving money in that respect. I've stopped going to the doctors as often because I'm not getting sick anymore with breathing issues. So, it could change that and if, people really made a concerted effort, focused on something to heal themselves and to figure out truly what the underlying reason for it to be happening in their bodies and their lives, that certainly could be figured out.
Do you have any particular moment that you had a really, really big aha that you remember, Karen?
Well, there's lots. Knowing that we're totally not alone, when I saw all those angels in the sky, that was overwhelming. And along that same lines, Rob, I guess I should mention, I had completely lost my faith in anything above and beyond spiritual, anything like that, for such a really long time. And this really brought me back to, there is something more than us. There is a God. There are angels. I've seen them and talked to them, through doing this. It's just so real and so loving. So for me, I regained faith, and it's not something you can convince somebody else of unless they've experienced it on their own. So it's a major life-changing thing for me in that respect as well.
Now, Karen, are there any other therapies that you think might fit in well with past life regression to help us integrate after we've been doing our work with it? Like, might we use other tools and techniques?
Wow, there's so much out there, Rob. Well, yeah, absolutely. You could pick anything. I'm a big fan of Reiki. It just feels really good. It helps you release a lot of it, and it also is another way of making your energy flow if you have it stuck, if you will. I've participated in soul retrieval classes, very intense, and sometimes it goes into a past life to retrieve parts of you that maybe because of a traumatic event that occurred, that it it heals you in that respect as well. There's just so many, Rob. I think that, if you, try and find something that you resonate with, and I happen to resonate with the past life modality, but I also enjoy the Reiki. I enjoy learning about the shamanistic aspects of healing. And meditation, absolutely, that was highly recommended by my spirit guides, personally for me, and then as a way to communicate to them, but also that can, there's health benefits to that as well, and all kinds of other side benefits that's too many to list. Just that simple act of just relaxing your mind. And really, you don't even have to do it for hours and hours on end. It's minutes, really, just minutes. I often tell people, too, even say you're at lunch at work and you're heating up something, takes 3 minutes, do a mantra, repeat it over and over again until the microwave goes off. You'll be amazed on how fast it goes, and you just feel better afterwards. It's not hard to do. You just have to give it a try. So meditating would be another recommendation. I think that is certainly in line with the past life thing, because to be in that relaxed state, to allow that focused concentration to come through to help you remember past lives, that is the best route to go. I could go on, Rob, but I know we're almost out of time.
We have about 4 or 5 minutes left.
Oh, okay.
I guess you can talk about your blog and about ways people can contact you.
Okay. If you go to my website, which is KarenKubicko.com, and I'll spell it. It's KarenKubicko.com. Through there, I have links to my blog, which I try to post something about once a week or so on varying topics. Normally, it has something to do with past lives, love, forgiveness, and all aspects of that. I welcome any kind of comments or questions, because that helps me know what people are interested in. And if they do have a question, I generally blog the answer, and so other people must have that question too. But also on my website, if you're interested in reading about one of my past lives, I have a free chapter that I have through my website. It's about a lifetime where I was Howard, and I had lived over near England, in the Scottish Highlands, and it was, a kind of traumatic ending to my lifetime. It eliminated a lot of my fears that were just real, like the spider thing and stuff like that, because I understood where that came from, because of remembering that lifetime. So that's free. You just have to sign up through my website, and I'll send that to you personally. And you can also friend me or like my Facebook page. Just type in my name. I work on Twitter and Pinterest and Google+. I'm on all those social medias, so you can find me on one of them that you choose and enjoy listening to or working with.
Now they can look for information on your book, on your blog, and on Twitter, and
Correct.
Everywhere else?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, do you take sharings, like people who've experienced their own past life and want to talk about it?
I have had people write about their own personal past lives in the comments. I've had them send me emails directly to see what my personal opinion would be on their past life as well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's nice to know that you're not the only person that remembered a past life. Sometimes they don't know who else to talk to about it, and I completely understand that. It took me a long time to find people who understood what I was remembering, and to find someone to talk with about it.
Now, other than your blog, what might be a good book or resource to really get started? I know you have yours coming, but
Correct.
what's another book that might help people to give them the energy and the courage to begin?
Well, if you look up Dr. Brian Weiss, he has many lives, many masters, same soul, many bodies. I don't know the names of all of his books. He's got 4 or 5 of them. And then if you're interested in the things that happen between lifetimes, then you can look up Michael Newton, Newton. He has Life Between Lives. He has 3, I think we talked about that yesterday, 4 books out now that talks about examples of different things that have happened between lifetimes. He also has a book, if you are a practitioner for past life regression, to help you understand how to go deep enough to really get in the in-between lifetime sections where you're seeing heaven and the buildings that are there and the gardens, and it's just really cool.
Well, thank
Carol
you.
Bowman's book, sure. I forgot about. Don't forget Carol Bowman.
Carol Bowman.
She has a couple books out. Children's Past Lives is one of them. I don't remember the other one off the top of my head. I don't have it sitting here with me.
Well, they can just search in Amazon. It'll come up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Easy reading. Helpful information.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight, Karen.
Thanks, Rob. I do appreciate it.
We love to have you, and I'm sure that people learned a lot tonight.
I hope so. And if they have any questions, feel free to contact me either through my website. Directly, when you fill out the form for a free chapter, you can write your questions, or if you want to talk more, that's the way to do it.
Okay.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you for coming on.
No problem.
And thanks to Karen Kubicko for coming on tonight. And if you have any past life regressions questions, you can email or contact her at her website, KarenKubicko.com, or join her on Twitter or Facebook and ask her your questions. And if you've enjoyed this show and you're so inclined, and you've enjoyed any of our other shows too, we have a donate button at the top of all of our screens, and donations are always greatly appreciated. We're here at no cost to you, so please find it in your heart to click the donate button. Or you can be a sponsor to one of our shows, and all you do is provide us a 30-second audio about your business, and we'll play it at the start, end, and middle of all of our shows. And then when the show is archived, we'll keep that inside the show, so your advertising will run in perpetuity. So, excuse me, but it's great. It'll be on iTunes, and it'll be on TalkShoe, and in our rebroadcast. So that's a great way to get word about your spiritual or related business. And we also have Thrive Magazine. Our deadline for the next issue will be, I believe, October 10th. And we have September's issue out now, and you can contribute articles, art, or poetry to the magazine, and we provide links back to your website with the article. And you can do that by going to the Thrive Magazine tab on the awakenedradio.net site and see the already published magazines, and you can contribute by adding Awakened Radio at gmail.net and mail your articles to us, and we'll accept them or not and let you know. And of course, you can come to simplyconversations.com and select the Be Our Guest tab and fill out the form to be a guest and email it to me, and we'll talk and see if you'll be a good guest for Simply Conversations. So stay tuned next week for another issue of Simply Conversations at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Thanks for listening tonight with Karen Kubicko. And remember, any questions for Karen, you can leave them at her website or via Twitter or Facebook, KarenKubicko.com. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week.
Cause we're awakened. Won't catch us sleeping through the fighting like we're all eyes open, showing our inside and light so bright. We are awakened. Come and join our love, it's so right. If you could feel what we feel now, you'd be a leader filled with might. Cause we're